Yes, we all associate sex with the feeling of euphoria. Why do it if we didn't feel good? Yet while many of us bask in the afterglow of our orgasm after sex, there may be times when this isn't the case. We may feel a sudden pang of emptiness or anxiety immediately after orgasm. Now this feeling is generally known as post-coital tristesse. And while you may balk at this idea, post-coital tristesse is very much a real phenomenon and fairly common. Initial references to this condition go back as far as 150 AD, with Greek physician Galen, who wrote, "Every animal is sad after coitus, except the human female and the rooster." But unfortunately, while being a tad bit sexist, Galen failed to recognize that post-coital tristesse affects both sexes, with experiences radically differing from person to person. Now, while we are still trying to understand everything about PCT, a few studies have attempted to shed more light on the subject. According to a paper published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine in 2015, over 5% of 230 female participants had reported experiencing PCT at least a few times in the 4 weeks leading up to a survey. Additionally, it was revealed that 46% of respondents had experienced symptoms at least once in their lifetime. Just to note, there was no correlation found between PCT and the level of intimacy in the relationship. In 2009, American psychiatrist Richard Friedman attempted to explain the biological underpinnings behind PCT. He wanted to do this by proving that these occurrences were caused by the amygdala, the area of the brain dealing with fear and anxiety. Since the amygdala suppresses fear and anxiety during sex, Friedman wanted to show that post-coital tristesse was a result of amygdala operations returning back to normal. He was able to explore this by giving a number of test participants selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, also known as SSRIs. Generally used to treat depression, the physical side effects of these SSRIs or antidepressants begin to act immediately, and one of the major side effects is a decrease in sexual pleasure. What he found was that this decline in sexual enjoyment corresponded with a decrease in sadness after sex. Now, the implications of this study seem quite bleak. However, the good news, according to specialists, is that medical attention should only be considered in serious instances where feelings of despondency last for prolonged periods of time. For the rest of us, according to German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, PCT may just be something existential. There's a lot to not like about German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. He was deeply misogynistic, calling women childish, frivolous, and short-sighted, while at the same time holding strong beliefs in the idea of intelligence being an inherited trait. But if there's one of his ideas that calls forth our attention, it's the notion of humanity's will to life. Initially expressed in his 1818 publication, The World as Will and Representation, Schopenhauer believed that humans were flawed and irrational beings, only guided by their selfish desires. And it was these selfish interests of their will to life that helped individuals cling to existence. Now, while this sentiment has far-reaching implications, Schopenhauer was particularly interested as to how this desire for life related to our perceptions of sex. When it came to finding a partner, Schopenhauer believed that we did not utilize our full intellect in order to make a rational decision. Instead, he believed that our judgments were based solely on our subconscious yearning to reproduce and pass on our genes. He also believed that lovers were drawn towards each other to create balanced offspring through an offset of extreme physical characteristics. The ramifications of Schopenhauer's assumptions have dreary conclusions. The person who may be the most suitable for us to produce a healthy child with is perhaps incompatible with our temperament. Post-coital tristesse is a feeling that Schopenhauer argued is a testament to this claim. After copulation, we subconsciously realize that we have successfully concluded a segment of our will to life and get momentarily caught up in an abyss of meaninglessness. According to Schopenhauer, we are slaves to this will, no matter how much we like to think that we're guided by rational thought. And this drive is necessary because we wouldn't want to reproduce unless we had completely lost our minds. Now, it is important to recognize that Schopenhauer primarily offers us a heteronormative and evolutionary perspective on his will to life hypothesis. But there are nevertheless some ideas that are still applicable in our present-day lives. His perceptions of sex and attraction can certainly help us understand our own drive for sex and relationships better. Our infatuations with another person could be nothing more than an innate drive for reproduction, a product of societal conditioning, or perhaps an inexplicable magnetism. Whatever it may be, it's important to keep in mind that the person we long for may not be entirely suitable for us once that initial bout of passion has diminished. And this is probably because that ideal partner we've conjured up in our minds does not exist and never will. It's a necessary reminder in our modern day societies that sell us the notion of true love. We romanticize the idea of meeting our soulmates who we'll spend the rest of our lives with in prolonged euphoria. But unfortunately, there is no such thing as a perfect partner. We're all deeply flawed in many ways, and no one will be able to rid ourselves of our inherent existential loneliness. In this sense, Post-coital Tristesse could be nothing more than a gentle reminder of the true nature of our inescapable realities. But the important thing to remember is that we need to recognize these feelings and give them their space. It's perfectly normal to feel sad sometimes, even after something so pleasure-oriented like sex. While confronting our existential realities, listening to our feelings can also give us insights and perspectives on something deeper that may be bothering us. Nevertheless, even if we face up to the truth that we are irredeemably alone, and that our attempts at finding our one true love is futile, many of us will still continue to seek out a partner who'll make us forget these facts, if only for a moment. And that's okay. We're only human.